Hi guys, welcome back. I'm here with another video, another game for you today. This time the game is from Wijk Aan Zee tournament and this is a very nice game that had a very funny ending. So the Wijk Aan Zee tournament is actually from the year 2010. At that time it was also called as Chorus tournament, and this game is actually from the group B. So that basically the tournament has like at that time had three groups actually. Now also it has three. So it was group A where all the top level elite players used to play. Group B was the upcoming players, and group C was for the remaining players. So now you might say Anish Giri is a top player. Why is playing in the group B? The reason is that this is year 2010 and Anish Giri was very young and he was climbing the ranks, as you can see from his rating, that is 2588. So Anish Giri was actually leading this tournament up to the point where he was 7 out of 10. And so let's see what happened when he met Wesley So in the round 11. So the game goes with e4 and we have e5, knight to f3, knight to f6 from Anish Giri. He goes for the Petrov defense that has a reputation of being boring, but let's see how the game proceeds. Now Wesley So decides to take here because the pawn is just hanging, and now actually Anish plays this move of d6, and you might wonder why not take the pawn directly. Now this is not a very good move. It is playable, but it then allows the move of queen to e2. Now if you, let's say, decide to save your knight, then you can actually pause the video here and find the brilliant move that white has actually in this position. So the move is knight to c6. Yes, your knight is hanging, but you can clearly see that you are under a check, and after you, let's say, try to defend, you just lose your queen. This is the same even if you, let's say, try to block with your queen, because I just take your queen. So actually you can actually also go for this queen to e7, wherein if, let's say, queen decides to take here, you can play a move like maybe d6 and then get back your knight, because knight cannot move because the queen would be hanging. But that's not a very good way to play. So instead players play this move of d6, wherein after knight goes back, they take back, and now Wesley So plays here this move of d4, and we have d5 not allowing Wesley So to gain further space, and bishop comes out, knight comes out. We have castles from Wesley So, and bishop to e7, rook to e1, and we have this very nice move from Anish Giri now, that is bishop to g4, g5, g4. This is usually very annoying for white, because you can see that this knight on f3 square is now pinned to this queen, and you can't win a pawn like this, because in this position I have actually a very good move, that is I can just take here, and let's say if you decide to take back with the queen, and I can just take back this pawn, and this position is actually not that worse for black, and you have actually given up your advantage as white. So we do not have that, and it is actually also the same if you, let's say, decides to take with the pawn and, let's say, defend your pawn, then you can already see that this king starts feeling a bit weak. So we do not have any of that in the game, and instead Wesley So protects his pawn on the d4 square. Now we have f4, f5 from Anish Giri himself. He is now cementing this knight on e4 square, and after the move queen to b3, sort of putting pressure on this pawn, but more of putting pressure on this pawn. Anish Giri absolutely does not care, and he decides to castle here. Now it is not advised to take this pawn, because after a move like either you can take here, or another move you can play is this rook to f6, defending this knight, also getting more pieces against this king that has possibly no defenders to defend itself. And you can see that your queen is grabbing pawns but not doing much apart from that. So Wesley So does not take that pawn. He respects Anish Giri and plays this move of knight b to d2. And now Anish Giri goes and attacks the queen. Queen moves away and Anish Giri comes back with his knight. Its job is done. And now we have this move of b4. As you can see from the arrow, the idea is to dislodge that knight with the move of b5. Anish Giri prevents that with the move of a6. And we have further expansion from Wesley So, because Wesley So's place lies on the queen side, whereas Anish Giri has to do the work on the king side. So Anish Giri follows the idea of attacking and goes with his move of bishop to d6, looking towards the king side. And now we have this move of bishop to a3. Now what Wesley So wants to do here is maybe getting this move of b5, wherein he will get to exchange this bishop. Also this knight would be harassed here. So Wesley So, after Wesley So's idea, Anish Giri moves away, maybe a prophylactic move from Anish Giri, and we have this queen to b2, knight retreats, and knight to e5 from Wesley So. Now Anish Giri actually decides to take here, and after take back, he plays this move of knight to g6. And now if you look carefully in this position, you will find the move of f3, where you are forking both your Wesley So is basically forking both of Anish Giri's pieces, but you can see from the engine that it's still maintaining 0.0. That is because after the move that Wesley So actually played in this position, it's actually the move that you should play, that is f3, forking both the pieces. You can actually play in this position the move of queen to g5. Now let us say if you decide to take here, then that is not great, because I can just take your knight here and I have lost nothing. And instead, if you, let's say, decide to take here, then I can go to the f4 square with my knight, and you can clearly see that your bishop is attacked. And now you have to go back here, and after a move like knight to h3, you can see that already I at least have a draw, because if you, let's say, don't decide to take, let us first check that. If you don't decide to take, then I'm just giving you checks, and at least I have a draw. And let's say if you decide to take here, then already after a move like the bishop to f4, as you can see that this king is very weak and it will be clearly hunted after a couple of moves. So we don't have that in the game. Actually Anish Giri actually does not find this move of queen to g4, g5. He actually decides to take here with his knight, and is actually in turn attacking this bishop that is there on the d3 square. But the problem with this move is that the bishop anyway wants to go back, and you have actually helped the bishop to go back, and you still haven't solved your problem that you have, that both of your pieces are hanging. So Anish Giri now actually plays this move of queen to f6. He could have again gone ahead with the same idea of queen to g5, but queen to f6 is also not bad. He goes ahead with queen to f6, and Wesley So decides to take here. And after pawn takes, you can now see that even though I am down a piece, there is still play against this weak king that does not have much of defenders, because all these pieces are on the queen side. But Wesley So tries to hang on with this move of king to h1, and now Anish Giri plays this move of b5, and after knight to b3 we have queen to h4 from Anish Giri. As clear from the arrow is that clearly the idea here is to get the rook on the 7th rank. That will actually come with a tempo. If you do nothing in this position, I'll just play rook to f2 and completely bulldoze you with my pieces. But Wesley So finds a very good move in this position, that is queen to d2. Now you can already see that this move is not possible, because let's say you go here, you will say that yeah, I am still bulldozing you with my pieces. Then comes here queen takes d5, and you can see that both your knight and your rook are hanging in this position, and you would be completely lost because you would have no pieces to attack in this position. So Anish Giri does not go ahead with rook to f2, and he instead plays this move of rook to f5. Now you can see that if queen decides to take here, your knight is not hanging and you can get your other rook into the game. So Wesley does not take and instead attacks the rook that is there on the f5 square, and we have rook to h5 now, threatening mate in 1 on this king. Now Wesley So plays this move of h3, and Anish Giri actually in this position has a chance to actually take this and play this move of knight to g4 and argue that he has some counterplay in this position after a move like, let's say, rook to, let's say, in this position actually white has to now play rook to e7 defending this, and let's say black gets his pieces into the game, then there is somehow probability for Anish to create some play. But Anish Giri does not decide to take the pawn here because he says that currently that pawn is pinned and he can take however he wants, and he gets his final piece into the game. But now again Wesley So finds this very good move of rook to e3, because you can't just take whenever you want, and I am defending this h3 square, because now if you take, I can just take back with my rook and I am completely fine. So after that very good move, Anish Giri decides to infiltrate on the 7th rank with this move, and queen decides to retreat, and now you can already see that this queen is actually beautifully pinning this rook. So Anish Giri has to actually come back with his queen here, and now we have again beautiful move from Wesley So, king to g1. He is now completely winning in this position. He is up a piece and there is no attack for Anish Giri in this position, and you can also see that his bishop now is hanging and also his rook is now hanging. So Anish Giri decides to save his rook instead and comes back with his rook, and we now have takes, and after knight takes, another brilliant move from Wesley So, rook to h3, now asking this rook, where are you going? You have no other square rather than to take. So Wesley So decides to take here, and after takes, Anish Giri plays the move knight to f2. Now you can see that black pieces are actually surrounding this white king, but there are not enough pieces on the board, and also these pieces are doing a very good job of defense. So there is actually no play for Anish Giri in this position, but if what I said was correct, I would have been a great player like Anish Giri and not just sitting here. So Anish Giri is a great player, so let's see how he handles this. First we have queen to e3 from Wesley So. Now you can see that this is a very centralizing move, defending the entire 6th rank that is currently needs the defense. You can see that it's a very good move. We have check from Anish Giri and bishop to g2. That bishop is doing excellent job of protecting all the light squares. And now we have this move of knight to d1. Now you might say that why can't I just take? That can absolutely take in this position, because even though I can give you a check here, you can just take with the king, and even though you are getting my queen, you can see that the white has too many pieces for the queen, and this would be completely winning. So taking would have been completely fine for Wesley So, but he does not want to give up his queen, and he instead goes back with the move queen to c1. Now you can see the engine bar dropping from like completely winning for Wesley So to slightly winning for Wesley So. That is because the queen was actually needed now on the 7th rank for the defense. So you had to play maybe a move like not that would just run into again this. So not that, but rather a move like queen to e2, wherein you are now defending the entire 7th rank and also controlling this important square of f1, which will become very important in the game, as you will see. So Wesley So goes ahead with this move of queen to c1, and now we have this move of queen to g6 from Wesley So, from Anish Giri actually, setting a perfect trap for Wesley So. Now you can't take here because still it's not very good for you, because I can go here and you would actually have to sacrifice your queen in this position if my browser allows me to play that move, because in this position you would have to sacrifice your queen, and this is now not that much winning because the king weakness is felt, and also you are now losing like this. Everything is loose here, so you can't play that. So instead, after this move, you can also see that you can't take, but you can actually fork the rook and the knight in this position, and that's exactly what Wesley So does in this position. But now you can completely see that this engine was screaming that white is completely winning, but after the very good, very normal looking move, forking both your queen and your rook, the engine is now completely in black's favor, because now black has a mate in 2 in this position with the move. You can actually pause the video if you want to find this very cool looking mate in 2 for yourself. And Anish Giri of course finds this mate in 2. He plays this absolutely crushing move of rook to f1. Anish Giri had already sacrificed 2 pieces until this point, and he decides to sack his rook in this position, because now of course you have to take, there is no other move for you, and if you take here, I can just play queen to f7, f2, and this is now a mate. So, and of course your bishop can't take because it is pinned. So after this move, actually Wesley So decided to resign, because there is nothing that you can do because you are getting mated anyway. So like Wesley So was completely winning up to this point, and he made this one slight bit of inaccuracy, still he was winning. But Anish Giri set this final trap, like this must have been final try from Anish Giri, that he said, okay, I am going to try this one final trap. If Wesley So, let's say, plays the move of queen takes d1, I am just going to resign and say that Wesley So played very well in this position. But let's say if Wesley So falls for this fork and instead blunders into this mate in 1, it's very good for me. And in fact, Wesley So fell for this mate in 1 that Anish Giri sneakily set up. So a 2600 plus player, Wesley So is now 2700, but at that time you can see from the rating that his rating was actually 2656 at that time, and Anish Giri was just 2588. So this must have been a very nice win for Anish Giri, and it actually motivated Anish Giri, and Anish Giri actually went on to win this tournament, and he later on became a very good player that we know. So you can see that it's never too late to blunder. However great you are, however good of a player you are, it doesn't matter when your king is weak. Even the best of the players sometimes falter when their king is weak. So Wesley So was completely winning the entire game. He managed to get Anish Giri's he managed to dismantle Anish Giri's Petrov. He defended very good up till a point with his move. Like this move was a star move for me. This move of rook to e3, defending everything. He was playing completely fine until a point where Anish Giri just decided to trick him with this move of queen to g3, and Wesley So just blundered and Anish Giri delivered the mate. So I hope you enjoyed this very nice game, and now you also don't feel bad for blundering mates yourself, and I hope this game was enjoyable to you. Until then, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.